some of us received a copy of the draft about 35 minutes ago. And while I never took an Evelyn Woods reading class, we did have an opportunity to scan this thing pretty fast, and I just want to make a few introductory comments. I think that our priority should be safeguarding our communities. I think that's been something that's been talked about, and protecting the ratepayers. And as I read in the document, I see some issues of hardening the lines and a third-party verifier to make sure that the utilities are appropriately hardening their infrastructure to the satisfaction of a third-party group. The way I read it, I don't know if I read it correctly, that will be a cost that is borne to the ratepayers. I'm concerned that the ratepayers are going to see some significant increases no matter what the actions of this committee are. And it would seem to me that a basic premise to the PUC in authorizing profits that are by for-profit utilities, that it should be an incumbent responsibility on the utility to ensure that they are operating safely in accordance with state laws and state policies and subject to third-party verifications. Another concern that I have is that we need to make sure that we can get in there and do thinning. I appreciate the language that says that we can go on to federal forests that are already subject to NEPA without going through the duplicative CEQA process. I'm still not clear yet. Maybe somebody can tell me about how we go on to state properties and if there's any streamlining that will allow us to thin brush and the 129 million trees that are dead or dying. I appreciate that we can use some of the logs for lumber rather than just burning them up. Another concern that I have is that we are going to be allowing for some streamlining and other mitigating circumstances, and throughout the document I see a 5-year window after which I think things go back to the way that they were, which is certainly hasn't been successful. I don't know how we can embrace a document with a 5-year sunset and accomplish all the goals that need to be done to make the state safer. I think we ought to be looking at least a 10-year window of expedition. I appreciate the fact that the PUC is going to be mandated to have a closer relationship with CAL FIRE. That's something that I've been preaching about. CAL FIRE certainly has the expertise in ensuring that wires are properly mitigated as far as brush and trees around them. They need to be talking more. When we learned that we only had 30 auditors that were working for the PUC to ensure that we have hundreds of thousands of miles of infrastructure that are safe for our communities. Another concern I have is that, if we're going to get to some of these more rural areas where we have a lot of dead trees, that there's a provision in here that based on the number of acreage that you can have a 600-foot road to get equipment in there to clear the trees. Yet there's another requirement in here that the 600-foot roads literally cannot be connected to one another. And I don't know how we're going to get deep into some of these areas that are inundated with a lot of this dead trees and brush and appropriately clear them to at least create fire breaks to assure that we're not going to see a resurgence, if you will, of this continuation of this fire season that technically should not even be begun yet. So we may just be at the beginning of even a more horrific fire season than we've experienced so far. I think that serving on this committee has been one of the highlights of me being in the legislature and working with all of you and hearing all your points of view. It's unfortunate that we have such a quick deadline, that we have to have something in print and something that we all can understand what we're voting on prior to embracing the bill. I think there's enough time to get it done. We're just going to have to work extra hard in the next 24 hours to do it in accordance with our 72-hour in print rule, with our legislative session coming to an end here this Friday at 12 o'clock a.m. So I look forward to working with the chairman, who I want to thank both of them for working as hard as they have in trying to get us to this point. This is not an easy issue. It's complicated, has a lot of moving parts, and everybody has valuable input that I respect. And I'm hoping that by tomorrow that we can all, or at least a majority of us, agree that we're putting the citizen safety first. We're going to do appropriate thinning and hardening of our infrastructure and protecting our ratepayers as best as we can, while at the same time maybe pushing some utilities to the brink, but not putting them into a place where they're bankrupt, and that's not going to be serving the ratepayers at all. So thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to hearing the comments from the rest of the committee.